Good evening and welcome. I'm Aarnimetsa from PokerArmenia.com, and today we are going to do some 180 mens. And this is quite a nice spot to also do some rebuys, as I think one of the most profitable 180 man structures is a rebuy. So these $3.5 rebuys are, I think these are quite nice as an introduction to rebuys. And pretty much when we start with rebuys, we are not looking at these like $3.5 games. So I'm having a $2.5 and $3.5 game in here. So you could think that these are like pretty close together. So you could think like this is pretty close to a $2.5 game. But actually that's not true. So if I'm thinking about the variance and how much bankroll would you need, I'm thinking that these $8 games and 3.5 plus rebuys are going to be quite equal. And that's mainly because in these $3.5 rebuys, even though they are in general, I think that like your average purchase to those games is somewhere around $14, $13 to $14, I think. I'm still thinking that the increased ROI compared to the $8 games is going to be quite enough to bridge the gap, so to say. Like in these games, for example, you are not paying rake for your rebuys. So these games you are paying 31 cents of rake, and the price pool will be quite close to the $15 games. And in these $8 games you are paying over double the same rake, but the price pool is going to be like 1.5 times less than in these. But I like the games. I think that they are going to be. I think that they are about the most. I think they are about the best 180 player games in terms of ROI that you can get. So those are profitable games to play, and those can also increase your. Like only thing that is not increased is that these games are about the slowest game to get VPPs. Like you are paying only 31 cents of rake, so you are getting something like 1.7 VPPs. And when you are getting something like 1.7 VPPs for a game, and in these games, like the rebuy time, I think it's about 30 minutes. So you know that you are every time you are playing one of these games, you are going to be playing at least you're going to be playing at least 30 minutes. So the average game time is something like I think 70 minutes in these. And for other 180 turbos, it's I think it's between 40 and 45 minutes. So you are going to use a lot more time in these. So like if you're thinking about hourly, I think that these games are going to be, or hourly and variance, these games and $8 games are going to be quite equal. And in these rebuy games, the average stack sizes are going to be a lot bigger. As you can see in here, there is only one player on our table that hasn't rebuyed since the start. And usually that's a bad sign. Usually I think that players that are good are going to take rebuys every time, and players that don't understand like the rebuy structure, they are not going to take rebuys as much. But as the average stack size is going to be deeper in these $3.5 turbos, $3.5 rebuys, the something like set mining becomes more important. You are having increased opportunities to set mine in these games. And also something like suited connectors are going up in value. So there will be some differences in strategy, but it's all because these games are starting with 75 big blind stack size, but then here effectively we are starting with about 150 big blinds deep, so there will be a lot more deep stacks play in those games. Also great games to practice your deep stack play. And I think that for the first hour, I'm trying to like fill the table with 3.5 plus R's. So I'm going to fill the table with these rebuys. And as we are going forward, I think that after the first break, I'm not going to open any rebuys anymore. So after the break, we are not going to open any rebuys anymore. And I think I'm trying to do like first hour, let's open mainly rebuys. Second hour, let's open mainly turbos. And for the third hour, let's only open hypers. So you can see all the different 180 man games. I think that these games are probably the games on PokerStars where you can get the highest ROI for a sit and go, but also the average game time is going to be quite a lot higher. So, and also the variance in these games, it's like 5.5 buy-ins, 5.5 buy-ins per game as the. Now I'm drawing a blank in my mind. It's not normal distribution, but standard deviation is about 5.5 buy-ins per game in these 180 mans, as it is like 1.6 buy-ins per game in 6 maxes or 9 max sit and goes. So in general, in these games, you are going to have way higher swings, both upswings and downswings. Like you can, for example, you can, in these 180 man games, you can quite easily have a session that, or multiple sessions where you are just drawing blanks, like, or you are finishing like just in the money. And when you are min cashing in MTTs, you usually aren't that happy about it. Like min cashing in MTTs, it's in a way, it's you are going to get some money, but on the other hand, like this 3.5 rebuys, it might be less than you have invested in the game already. So in here, top pair. And in general, I think that players in these games are going to be a bit too much on the tightish side. So I'm going to be abusing it by opening a lot in position. But from early positions, as there are so many players that are likely going to play against us or just take part into a pot that they shouldn't. So early on, I'm going to be quite tight, but in position, I think that the optimum strategy is to be very aggressive. So, and also now I haven't heard anything from either of our chats. So please tell me if you can even hear me, or are we having some problems? Problems here. And in here we can see on the top left corner, we are having 3 players that are regs here. I have also heard like one idea that I have heard from rebuys is that those wouldn't be the best equity games, or how to say, those wouldn't be the best ROI games, because it's going to be so much more likely that players that are going to take a lot of rebuys are going to be the players that are going far in the tournament, and those players are going to be regs, so that the games will be more reggy. But I think that it's going to be bullshit mostly. Like I think that you are going to, on average, you are going to get better players getting this tilt, but it's like nature of MTT games that the better players are going farther in tournaments anyways. In rebuys, yeah, a bit more, but there is also rebuys are going to, you are getting, first off, if you know what you are doing, you are getting advantage of the structure. Like the player that always rebuys and always takes rebuys, always gets to the add-on, is getting I think like if he even if he would be an average player, he would beat Rake on average by just using a good rebuy strategy, because I think that when we are seeing that the rebuy time is ending in these games, we are going to see situations that there is something like 100 or 130 or something like that players remaining. So like 50 players are giving up before the add-on time. And the add-on is going to be important because in rebuy tournaments, add-ons are usually given at a discount. And when add-ons are given at a discount, and when we are far away from the final table, we are usually going to get situations where usually we are going to get situations where our stack size, or because the ICM is having such a small effect, when we are getting chips at a discount, we are increasing our equity in the games with more than the dollar value of the add-on. So, and I think like 130 players about are going to get to the add-on, and then there will be something like 20 or 30 players that are not taking the add-ons. Like, I have read from some other online sites that if you are having like 5 or 6 times your buy-in already, you shouldn't take add-ons. I think that's also going to be something that isn't going to be a profitable strategy, because you are still going to be so far away from the money, and ICM is not going to eat into the benefits that much. So I think that in these games, I'm finding it really hard to find any situations where I wouldn't be rebuying, at the end of the add-on period. Like, I think that if I would have like half of all the chips in play, that would probably be one of the situations, but in real life there wouldn't be any situations in these games that. And if you can't afford playing these games with taking add-on every time, taking as many rebuys as it takes to get to the add-on period, like in a twisted way, like when you are taking rebuys, you'll pretty much know that you have lost your buy-in, but in a twisted way, you are also getting ROI at that point, because you are getting a chance to buy chips at a discount. So in a weird way, you have just lost, but in a way, you have also gained equity into gaming the tournament structure. And of course, if everybody would play in a way in here, if our opponent checks back, then I'm going to try to steal the pot on the top right on the turn. Pretty much doesn't matter what I have. Actually, this sizing wasn't probably that good. We could have gotten the pot with less as well. So I was talking about rebuys, and then I got stuck with the stuff happening at the top right table. Whoa, this is going to be hard. It's the evening in here, and I'm feeling that I'm having a hole in my brain already. Like I'm having smart things to say, but they are all like dripping away from my ear or something. Because I'm drawing blanks for what was I talking about even? What was I talking about? Might have been something about the rebuys. So even though the add-ons are having the best discount, even all the rebuys you are taking, they are having a discount on the average chip price. So taking a lot of rebuys in a twisted way, is going to increase your ROI. But you shouldn't try to aim it, like you shouldn't aim to take a lot of lot of rebuys. Oh, it was the bankroll management. If you can't afford to take as many rebuys as it takes to get to add-on period, if you can't afford to play with a good strategy, you are playing too big of a game, and if you are playing too big of a game, you likely aren't playing it in an optimal way. And if you are not playing a game at the optimal way, you are losing your money. And if you are losing your money, you are then probably not playing that good poker. So find smaller games to play in those situations. Don't play rebuys. I'm thinking that would be quite a good thing to catch up with. And good evening to Virpa, Kauris, Mispose, Salatain. Should be an interesting night. Nice to see so many of you already here. If you have any questions on these games, on some other games, any sit and go related or any MTT related, feel free to ask. You can also use the Twitch chat we have here. We are having Twitch chat and our own chat here, so both of these are working, and I'm going to monitor on both. And right now I'm having about 9 tables, and this is probably going to be around what I'm going to play here. So MTTs are going to be quite easy games to multi-table. Like these games, we are going to see a lot of situations where we are nine-handed in a table. So like learning to play these MTTs, it's going to be a lot about learning to play the nine-handed situations. Like when it's 20, when there are 20 tables, they can stack the tables pretty accurately, so they can always level up the amount of players to nine. So these games are, the early part of the games is going to be how to play the best nine-handed play you can do. And in general, the nine-handed play is also in here. It's going to be quite deep stack to reshove. Like if this would be not a rebuy game and we are at 50-10, usually this would be that we are having 15 big blinds and this is going to be an easy shove. I think that flat calling this will be a slightly better equity option here, and I don't think that when we are having 30 big blinds, we are having an option to 3-bet small as well. I think that 3-betting small in that spot will only lessen our chances of playing aggressively on that pot later on. And Virpa says, let's hope that only your mind is drawing blanks. Thanks. I'll hope so too. Poker is nice sometimes, that even if you are... Poker is hard sometimes, like even if you are playing your best, it might be that you just can't win anything. But it's also the other way around, like sometimes you can be with a really bad state of mind and everything, and still you are just making money by luck. So, and Miss Post says the play is almost the same as the 45 mens. Yeah, basically 45 mens are going to be mini 180 mens. So in these games it's going to be, the early play is going to be almost exactly the same, and especially as we are going to just the regular turbos, they're going to be really close to these games. So like in 45 mens, it's like at the 3 first tables you are mostly just interested in gaining chips, and only at the 2 last tables there will be some more ICM effects. But you can, like, I think that you can play really well in 45 minutes if you are playing really well in if you are playing just really well in accumulating chips. In these games it's going to be pretty much the same, that we can go pretty far in these games, and just think about accumulating chips and we are playing at least close to optimal, because ICM is going to have such a small effect. And like 45 mens, I think they are better for new players, as they are going to have less variance in them. So when they are having less variance in them, you are going to see improvements quicker. And like you are going to see less variance in, you are going to know quicker where you are in the games. And also like 45 player games, I think that they are really good for a new player, as they're going to be soft games, and also 45 player games are going to be games that even if you're playing like 10 games a day, you are going to, like every day you are going to have at least one final table that will be exciting, and it will also be a chance to learn about the final table play. In these games it's pretty much that you need to play about 40 tables or 40 games a day before you are going to get a lot of final tables. And it might be that I'm thinking that today we are probably going to play something like 30 games would probably be quite close. And even though we are playing something like 30 games, it can still be that we don't see any final tables today. I hope that we are going to see final tables, because today we are also going to go through some hands, and I hope that we are going through some hands at the last stages of the final table, because there's an awesome update for Hold'em resources that lets you also analyze the it also lets you analyze the game before the final table, so, and take some ICM considerations into mind. So that would be pretty awesome to show you guys. But that requires that we are going to the final tables, and we have done a finish session on a public private coaching. That was a hand review style coaching for the two final tables that where we did showcase the new stuff in Hold'em resources. And Eistenov, now there is a lot of things in chat. I think that Eistenov against cutoff range, like cutoff range is going to be about 25%. So first of all, we are also going to get some really good situations as well. And I think that the hand is just going to play a bit too well against our opponent's range there. So I think it's going to be better as a flat call. I think that flat call is going to be better than a small 3-bet or a large 3-bet. But I also think that it's better than folding. And Mispose says that the left upper corner you folded 8s at UTG. After raise from UTG to 90 at BB to 30. I normally call that what's wrong. I don't remember if it's these games that we are mostly having 3000 chips. If it's one of these games and I didn't at least set mine it with 3000 chip stack, it's going to be quite a clear-cut mistake. Like in those situations, if we are having 1500 chips effectively and someone opens to 90 chips from UTG, I think that with 1500 chips we are going to be folding that most of the time. Like we are going to get good price, but we are still we are not going to always see the flop, even though if we are getting the flop and we are hitting our set, we still don't always win it. And it's going to be a situation that I think that when UTG has opened in these games, we are going to, and there is no other action yet. I think that from UTG +1 we are going to get 3-bet a bit too often. Like pocket 8s would be a better call at the later position, because then there are also some powerful position plays that you can do. And as Kauris said that suited is a better call, yeah, I agree that suited is a better call, but we didn't have a suited hand there, so even though there are spots that would be better, I still think that, or it's not that I just think, but we'll need to play with what we are dealt, so. And sometimes we are going to get some nasty situations. It's not like, I'm not thinking that the ace-10 off from small blind when cutoff opens, I don't think that it's like, yippee, I'm going to get it in type of a call. It's just going to be that on average I'm thinking that I'm making something like, probably something like a small blind or a big blind with that kind of a play. That's what I'm expecting on average, especially when we are having situations in here that we are having the antes in, so those are going to be quite big as well. In here I'm going to think about what's going to be the biggest sizing that I'm going to get a call from a jack with. And like, I agree that even something like ace deuce, I'm not sure about ace deuce suited, but like ace 10 off is not going to be something that we are really happy about. But something like ace 5 suited or ace 4 suited is, or probably any suited ace would be something that would be nicer in there, because we are going to have so many more flops that we can respond to aggression, we can play aggressively from the start of it. So and in here actually queen 3 in a vacuum would probably be a good open. I think that when there is a player that calls way too much, and with queen 3 off we are not going to have that many hopes up, so I don't think that it's going to be that great of a spot to open. Against two tight players it would be great. Kauris says that, and you play pocket jacks wrong. Well, I think in the Bible it said that the one that's innocent shall throw the first stone. Like, I might play pocket jacks wrong, but so does everybody else. So I don't worry about it too much. I think that it's been judged that pocket jacks is going to be a hand that it's going to be completely impossible to play perfectly. So like, small mistakes are going to be expected when it's about pocket jacks. And probably the second place goes to something like ace jack off, because you're always going to get in the nasty situation with it, especially with a larger stack size. But like, it's perfect. It's something to be expected. Like, if I'm in here, I'm thinking, should I turn this into a bluff? And against one opponent, I probably would have turned a 3 into a bluff. But against, in a multi-way pot, I don't think that it's going to be the best option there. And then a question, what could our opponent have there that we would beat? That he flat calls pre-flop. Like jack 10 off, or jack 10 suited, or something like king jack suited. There are going to be so few hands that we are going to beat there. And we have survived the first game to the add-on period, and we are looking like nits here. So that's not nice. I don't like to look like a nit, but if I haven't got any good spots to play, then no need to force the action. In a way, I also like playing 180 mens. It's like, in these games you can pretty much know that all of these games are profitable to play. Like no matter what, no matter what, I think that every 180 player game that opens is going to be a profitable game to play. So you don't need any game selection in these. It's going to be quite chill in that area. Like some smaller sit and goes, it might be that there are so many regs in those games that practically nobody makes money at some games. So, and in these games there will be plenty of weak players around. That's always something to look forward. And we can see in these games there are plenty of players that we can mark, and we will mark players because knowledge is power. And like if there is a player that in my opinion plays pretty badly at some game, I like to mark the players already, and I don't need to know that they are like, I don't need to classify it between every single game. Probably also that most of the games are going to be like, if you are having horrible mistakes, having horrible mistakes playing the early parts, you are going to have horrible mistakes in like 9 max hyper turbos as well. And if you are having horrible mistakes in playing like 9 player hands, you are also quite likely of having problems playing spin and goes profitably as well. So, and Virpa says that except if you stop and go those, well, but stop and going jacks, that's going to be even more serious mistake. Like if you manage to pull off a stop and go with jacks, it's going to be at the exact spots that you wouldn't want your opponents to fold, and your opponents will call every time that they shouldn't. So it's like the curse of pocket jacks. Or and I don't know, like probably with pocket jacks, it's some kind of a curse that has occurred on some game. It's like the poker player's version of the curse of Captain Morgan, or something, that you will be cursed to not ever play the pocket jacks well and always be second guessing if your line is going to be the perfect one that you are going to take with those. And like, spoiler alert, it isn't going to be the best line. Suited ace, about 10 big blinds stacked, that we are having antes in here. It's going to be a pretty nice spot to shove. I think like any suited ace is going to be a shove there, and something like ace 10 off. We opened, there is the big blind that has flat called. I think that with 2 overcards and the inside straight draw, I think that it's going to be slightly better to not c-bet it. We are going to have a bit too much equity that we would need to fold if our opponent would re-raise us. But when we hit our king, then I don't think that there is any sense in holding back, and then it's just it becomes a game, or it becomes a task of getting as much value as possible. But I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I had marked the player already. And in these games, also, if you know that there is someone that you need to mark, you can always go to the previous hand, and you can use this screen to mark hands as well, so you can label players, even though if they have been even if they have lost the next hand and lost the next game. And soon I'm having only rebuys left. I'm getting eliminated left and right on those previous games. In here, with pocket queens, even though we are against two big stacks, like when this guy shoves an overshove, I think that he's going to have a weaker pocket pair almost always. Like he's going to have something like eights or not, something from sevens to nines, like I think 70% of the time. Yep. And this guy, he's going to have a strong hand, but pocket queens. Pocket queens! And even though we look like nits on the bottom left corner, I don't mind anymore. We can look like nits all day long if we are just in the chip lead of the tournament. Mm, let's go for a bit of an exploitative play. I'm trying to get the pot on the turn here. I don't think that like this guy raises and then stabs to the pot. I don't believe that he's going to have much on that kind of a flop. And when I don't think that he's going to have much there, I think that, and in these games, I'm going to think that players are not going to play like, they are not going to play shotgun poker. They're not going to be shooting two barrels all the time. And in these games, I don't even think that it's going to be that good of a strategy to always shoot two barrels, as I think that players are going to be folding to the first barrel slightly too often, and when players are going to be folding the first barrel slightly too often, their range that they are going to have is going to be strong enough that firing a second barrel as a bluff isn't going to be that nice in a general sense. But we can also use it to our advantage, especially if we are having like players that we don't have any hands against, because they are going to most likely play against us like we are going to be random fishes in the game. I don't actually know. Probably they don't think us as random fishes, or there are some players that are thinking that everybody that shows supernova stars are going to be fishes. So they're just fishes that are going to play a lot, and I'm showing the stars because I also did some research and played like 1 month with the stars showing and something like 150,000 hands, and 1 month without the stars, and I found out that I'm having more fold equity in multiple spots when I'm showing the stars. And so when I'm showing the stars, and in my game, I think that in general I'm going to be more aggressive, and I'm not going to value bet that often. I'm going to be more often with the bluffs, so every bit of fold equity I can increase, it's going to be good for me. It was a weird sound somehow. I thought that the new game opened, but not yet. And it's probably going to be interesting that I'm speaking about weird sounds, because you can't hear any of my computer's normal sounds. You can only hear You can only hear my voice, and I like to keep it that way because some of you are going to be watching while you are playing yourself, and there are not many things that are going to be worse than getting panicked at your own tables. Getting panicked at your own tables because some stream that you are following is broadcasting their own sounds as well. And when there are like time bank is blinking in there, you are also getting stressed. And we don't like you to get stressed. Be chill. And we are seeing that we are getting to the add-on period on multiple of these games, and I don't think like the basic strategy should, like there are some players that are saying that when you are starting a rebuy game you should be more aggressive and more active, and you should take more all-in risks because opponents are not going to be scared of getting out of the game because they can always rebuy with the next hand. But I think that in these games it's not going to be that big of a difference between player tendencies before the before the add-on period and after that. I think that the player tendencies are going to be quite close together, both pre add-on period and post add-on period. So I think that our strategy in extracting their chips it's going to stay the same pretty much all the time. Mm. And I wish that I could have an easy way to show all the games that are now in progress, but I think that it's just going to be I think that it's going to be best to show only 4 tables at once. I think that 4 tables is kind of the holy grail in poker because there will be always something happening at some of these tables. And I hope that when we are having the tables that are like side tables here, I hope that it's going to I hope that it's going to enhance the possibilities of getting some late games going on. UTG opens. We are just getting like 18% pot odds here. We need to play this like really carefully because our opponent will have both ace king and ace queen in his range. So we can get value owned ourselves and burned pretty badly in these spots if we are playing all the one paired hands aggressively. But I still think that if we are getting like 20% odds to call there, to get a chance to play against a random guy, even though his UTG and his range is going to likely be quite tight, I still think that we are going to make money on average with king queen off. And it's going to be nice. This is going to be an MTT session, so every hour we should have a 5-minute break. And breaks are usually, there are some people that I think that are missing the point in breaks. Like the breaks are going to be like if you are playing these games for real. I think that you like if you would be a pro, or if you are aiming to play a lot of these games, I think that you should register through breaks. Like you should be registering even when breaks are going to start. And why is that? Even though you would be missing some hands there, it's because the hands that you are going to miss are going to be from the first blind level mainly, or you are not going to miss any other hand than the first blind level hands. Just if you are having your system set up so that you are not going to waste your time banks, then I think that registering through the break would be pretty optimal. But there is like the other point that there are some players that like to write on Skype, write with their friends, and sit on the chair. I think that for MTTs, especially if you are playing a long session, that's going to be like the not worst option of doing it. Like if you are having a break, utilize the break to the max and go walk somewhat, do something else, go off the computer. And like in MTTs, it's going to be that you are usually, if you want to play them profitably, you need to be able to do long sessions. Here actually, I think that we are going to get more out of our opponent if we check. And I don't think that he will be checking back any 10 here. So I think that we are quite golden here. That wouldn't be a crisis to have happened there as well. It's going to be the add-on period, so we would have pretty much the same effective stack size. Of course, we are like losing 6.6 bucks there, but it wouldn't be a catastrophe. So for some reason on my stream, the Twitch chat overlay is transparent right now, so you can see through it. Well, it doesn't matter that much right now. I'm getting the last $3.5 rebuy registered as well, so. But we are having some quite nice stack size in these games, so. It's so nasty, so nasty. There will be some pocket pairs, of course. So do we get like 43% here with king 10 off? I think so. It's going to be really nasty still. And against pocket jacks, that's a hand that we don't get. That's a hand that we don't get 40% against for sure. Still we get 30%. Like not a catastrophe, but probably something that we could mark. And if I'm doing something horrible at some spot, we can always mark the hands and go through some hands at the later stages. I'm trying to mark hands for sure, especially if we are getting to the like 2 or 3 final tables, because those should be quite interesting. But I don't probably catch all the interesting hands, so if you notice some interesting hand that you want to look through later on, send a message to our chat and try to highlight on which table and what kind of a hand it was. And probably I should have a, not like a hotkey, but I should have like the camera recognize when my face is getting all wrinkled up when I'm trying to think some point, and like mark all the hands that are going at that point and trying to find the hand that I'm finding hard or thinking hard. And Vakku asked that there's a blog post where I play from 50 bucks to 5,000 bucks. would you choose the same games to start with and later on go on if you would do it again? I don't think so. Or I would probably choose the. I would probably go with the smallest, like 50 cent. I would go with 25 and 50 cent MTT sit and goes for sure. But I would also add some 50 cent 9 max turbos there. And those were games that weren't available when I did my project from $50 to 5,000 bucks. And it might even be that if the 50 cent 9 maxes would run well, it would, if they would run really well, I would probably start with only those if I would get the table amount going from just those. But I remember that when I did the $50 to 5K project, I was having trouble at the even at the earliest levels to just get enough tables going, and I still think that like the 25 cent regular speed MTT sit and goes, those are probably going to be the best bet if you can't afford to go broke and you are just having a small bankroll. I think that they're going to be like, even if you are thinking about cash games that are generally they are going to be lower variants, but still because the first cash game level is basically the $2 level, I still think that like 25 cent or 10 cent sit and goes are going to be like games that you can play with the lowest bankroll and not go bust. And Virpa, you said that 180 men are having standard deviation of roughly 5.5. Uh, that means you'd roughly need 2k roll for 3.5s. For these turbo rebuys, it's going to be even higher. Like, it depends on what's like. These are going to be some. It depends on your edge in the games mainly. I think that something like 2k bankroll is going to be, if you are playing like professionally and the bankroll means a lot to you, then I think like 2k is going to be like first level you can start adding these 3.5s and $8 games. But I haven't done the math about those, so but it's going to be actually, if you are comparing it, it's going to be interesting in a way because it's going to be pretty similar with spin and ghost that are going to also have like 5 or standard deviation of roughly 5, but in those games it's going to be, I think it's going to be slightly more interesting because your downswing shouldn't be as deep, but when you are running really good, you can run a lot better in spin and ghost than you could run at the 180 player games. And I'm not going to do the mistake that I said that people are doing, but I'm still having one hand to go before I can go to a break. But then I'm going to go to a break, get a cup of coffee here to keep me refreshed and get some and walk some, so I'm going to be as refreshed as I can be when I'm starting the second hour of the stream today. Nasty spot. Should I turn this one into a bluff? I don't think that I'm going to win the pot anyway. Any other way? I think that I can even get some kings to fold here. And I don't think that, like, even if this would look like that you are going to have pretty nice showdown equity, I don't think that you are going to have that much showdown equity, if any here with a naked 10. So didn't work out this time. Going to a break. Be back in about 4 minutes.